There are thousands and thousands of country western records out there. Some of them look really cool, some of them sound really cool, but are any of them actually collectible? Well, after about 25 years of collecting country records, I have definitely found the answer to that question. I'm going to reveal it in this video, and I'm going to show you exactly what kind of country records are valuable, why they're valuable, and what kind of money they're worth. Number 10, I got Mickey Gilley's Lonely Wine. And this came out on Astro Records in 1964. That's why these records are collectible and valuable, because they were not mass produced, they were not mass pressed, they were all really came out on very small labels, and that's what makes them rare, that's what makes them collectible. This one here is Mickey Gilley's debut. As you can see, it's a pretty classic looking cover. An original 64 pressing on Astro it should look like this. The sticker is gonna look like that. And it's pretty obscure, I'll be honest. It's a pretty obscure record, but in really great condition. It can fetch a couple $100 for sure. And this is a record that's been collectible for a long time, but as well in 2025. It's a cool sounding record. It's got a lot of Jerry Lee Lewis vibes. I'm gonna put a link in the description if you wanna listen to it. Charlie Rich, Lonely Weekends. So this came out on Philips International. This was done in 1960, and this record's also been collectible for a long time. It's the original Charlie Rich album. This record can actually fetch around $300 if it's mint. It's one that people have always been looking for. Like I said, this is there were a few pressings made of this, so you got to make sure that you're getting the exact pressing that we're talking about here. You can track down all of this information on discogs.com if you've got the right copy or not. You can see this one actually, there's two copies of it for sale currently. They're asking, one of them's asking almost $300 for it. And there's a link in the description if you want to hear this one as well. It's definitely an interesting record. Number 8, Waylon Jennings, Live at JD's. This is a really cool record. This is pre-Nashville Waylon. This was recorded in Arizona. The title actually is a bit misleading. It makes it look like it's a live record, but this is actually just a small studio album. There were only 500 copies of this thing made. It was only sold at this club JD's, which is a big club in Arizona that Waylon kind of got started at, and he gained a big following there. This is a really obscure record, and near mint copy of this thing would like probably fetch upwards of $1,000, I'm thinking, in 2025. But this is absolutely not a record you're gonna see laying around in a charity shop. I mean, unless you live in Arizona, maybe. If you ever see this record anywhere in any kind of condition, pick it up. Okay, George Jones. Well, George Jones stuff is going up in value in the past few years, for sure, as it should. This is kind of a no-brainer. It's the greatest country singer of all time. It's his first album. It's on a legendary record label, Starday. It features George Jones wearing a cowboy hat. The lead track is Why Baby Why, right? So a pretty desirable record. It can fetch up to about $500 for a near mint copy. I highly doubt near mint copies of this actually exist, because this is the kind of record that would have been played. On the cover of the album, it says Country Song Hits. Sometimes it's filed under that name, but the actual name of the record is George Jones' Grand Ole Opry's New Star. It's 1956. It's on Starday Records. All right, number 6. This is interesting. Suzy Boguss. So this is a record that came out in 1981 on Old Shack Recording record label. This was her debut album out of Dunlap, Illinois. This is another record that's always been collectible, and this one actually has a pretty cool story to it. She didn't actually break through in country music until 1989. Her official debut album, they came out on Capitol Records, I think, in '89 on a major label. That's 7 years after this record came out. So she had been around a long ass time before she actually got her break, and that's kind of the reason why this record is so collectible. And she's doing Ghost Riders in the Sky on this. It's a really bizarre song called I'm a Hog for You. So it's kind of a fun record. I don't expect the value to go up on this one in the future. I think it's pretty much plateaued at this point. Okay, we got Dolly Parton here. Her very first single. This was a 7-inch. So it's a 45 RPM. Side A is Puppy Love. Side B is Girl Left Alone. Came out on Gold Band Records. There's one copy of this for sale on Discogs right now. They're asking $500 US for it. That's probably a reach, but no doubt this is going to fetch a lot of money. She's a legendary artist, legendary actress, celebrity, and so on. The music on here is great. This is actually a total rockabilly thing that she's doing here. It's not country at all. It's very cool. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. It doesn't even really sound like Dolly Parton. I mean, she sounds like she's like 13 or 14 years old in this record. Okay, number 4. This is Randy Ray, aka Randy Travis, 1983, Music Valley Records. This is the Randy Travis debut live album at the Nashville Palace. So you'll see on this record that they've actually cut out and pasted the name Randy Travis over it. It's a little rough looking, which makes it kind of a fun record. The Nashville Palace, I don't know if it's still there, but it used to be right next to the Willie Nelson Museum on Music Valley Drive. Of course, the cool thing here is he's doing some of those big songs for the very first time on this album. In some cases, the arrangements are quite different, so it's really interesting for that reason. Randy Travis's voice did not hold up later into his career. He's doing Reasons I Cheat, big song, Promises, and I Told You So, which is one of his most famous. So this is a good 3 or 4 years at least before his first big record came out. And that price is going to go up. People are going to want to remember Randy Travis in his prime. He has had a horrific post-career life outside of music. Things have not gone well for Randy Travis. Number 3, this is Jim Reeves Sings. Not the most creative title. 1955, Abbott Record Company. It's a valuable record, absolutely. It's a $700-800 in mint condition. And this album cover was actually featured in a coffee table book called Vinyl Hayride. It has one of his big songs on it, Mexican Joe. And of course, he died tragically in '64, so that plays into the collectability of his records. There's one copy of it currently for sale on Discogs. So Wild Country. Who is Wild Country? That is the debut album of Alabama. This album is absolutely like terrific. Look at this album cover. This one will go around $500 or so for a mint copy. And I think probably more. I think it's going to go up quite a bit because the 80s country music is very nostalgic these days. And this is probably one of the nicest showpieces that you can have. And it's Alabama, 1976. That's going way, way back. All right, number 2, David Allan Coe, Requiem for a Harlequin. This is 1973, Triple S International Records. There's only 2 songs on this record, and that's not because it's a 45. This is actually a full-length LP with 2 15-minute songs on it. In the end, this could end up being the most sought-after country album, I think, all time. It's a concept album, almost like a Gordon Lightfoot meets like Pet Sounds kind of sound to it. It's not a country record at all. It's just totally weird. It's not the kind of thing you probably even would ever want to listen to. But for collector's sake, yeah, that would be the reason to have this album. David Allan Coe is an artist with a lot of hype, a lot of mystery, a lot of controversy around him. So that's going to help make his early records collectible. But specifically this one. This one is as weird and as rare as it gets. Requiem for a Harlequin. All right, number 1, this is going to be got Hank Williams. Not a shocker. Hank Williams, Sterling Records. These are his first 78s. And there was the set of these. There's a set of 4 of them that sold for $2,075 about 2 weeks ago online. And of course, Hank Williams is going to be the most prolific, of all the country western stars for the fact that he was the writer, the entertainer, and he made a whole career's worth of music in like 2 to 3 years, basically. And then he died before he even turned 30. So no one's ever going to top that, ever. And you would think that his first available commercial recordings, would actually be worth more than that, to be fair. I mean, $2,000 for 478s. So some of the rare Beatles records sell for like $250,000 in some cases. I mean, they sell for crazy money. So if you consider that you could buy a set of 4 of these first Hank Williams recordings for $2,000, I mean, that's a bargain. The actual songs that are here are not as rare as most of the other stuff in this list, because it's been reissued. So you can listen to all this music, but the idea of having the first ever pressed Hank Williams stuff is going to make it a pretty cool item. And unfortunately, there's 78s, which they probably don't sound that clean. It would, but because of the time period, yeah, 78s. But $2,000, that's right around the top dollar you're ever going to get for a country record, basically. That's this kind of the summary of this video. All right, so there you go. When you compare all this stuff to Bob Dylan and the Beatles, King Crimson, I mean, that stuff can go for crazy money. Classical records as well, they can fetch crazy money always, but the country records are just not going to be collectible for the most part, unless it's one of the ones I just mentioned. What I would suggest is just take that element right out of it. If you don't care about the value of the stuff, you can get amazing country records and you can get them for next to nothing. I mean, like really old stuff too. Stuff that would seemingly be rare. Old Texas Troubadours albums, stuff like that. Lots of old steel guitar records. You can get a lot of that stuff because, yeah, no one's collecting it, and it's killer music. It looks cool. It sounds cool. It's just, they're fun to collect. So keep enjoying your vinyl records. Keep enjoying your physical media in 2025. And let me know if you've got a cool old vintage country record. Take care, keep it country, and we'll see you next time.